You've booked a guest for your podcast, and then they missed the interview. What should you do? Should you write them off? Should you go on Facebook and complain? Should you offer to reschedule? Whatever you're going to do, I'd suggest that you have a plan so that you don't have to make it up as you go along. What's happening, podcasters? This is episode 92 of 1,000 Podcasters, and I'm Brian Ensminger. I'm a podcaster and a podcast editor, and I want to see you be successful with your podcast. If you'd like to make sure that you get this show delivered directly to your favorite podcast app, visit toptieraudio.com/subscribe. You'll find 3 buttons right there. One for Spotify, one for Apple, one for Google, some smaller buttons if you've got other apps that you prefer. Just click the app that you'd prefer and subscribe right there. That's toptieraudio.com/subscribe. I've got a couple things for you today, actually 3 different things for you today. It's Christmas Eve in the U.S., and I'd like to leave you with the regular episode as well as a couple of bonus things. So first, I'm going to answer a question. Should I let a guest reschedule, or what should I do if a guest blows me off? And then I also have a video to share with you and a little bit of listener feedback. So let's talk about rescheduling, or what to do when a guest misses their interview. And I will preface this with the comment that it can depend. You're going to have to make your own decision based on what's the right thing for your show. If you are booking a studio and an engineer and somebody to come in and help you do this, and it's costing you money, that could make a difference in how you approach that. Okay, so I get that. However, in my mind, essentially, you have different variations on a couple of things. You have the option to not reschedule, and you have the option to reschedule. And some of these things could take different forms, but I'll kind of run through the 4 different ways that I look at them. You might look at them a little bit differently, but this is how I look at it. One is that you could draw a hard line and say, if you miss it, we're done. I don't reschedule. I'm just going to walk away and move on because I've got a show to put out, and I don't have time to reschedule for people that don't show up. And in some instances, that could be the right call. I can't tell you for sure if it would be for you. For me, it's a little bit of a hard pill to swallow to say, I'm sorry, I can't do this. But if you've got a show that's got to go on and you can't reschedule, I get that. So there's that. You could also take it a step further if you really want to, and you could do all of that and also send him a note saying, thanks so much for not showing up. I wasted a bunch of money on you, or whatever you do. And again, this isn't really the approach that I would take, but that is certainly an option. The third way is an option that's related to rescheduling, and that's to allow them to basically just kind of ignore the fact that they didn't show up. And if they want to reschedule, let them reach out to you and go, hey, I missed it. I'd like to reschedule, and let them do that. And then the final one is to actually assume positive intent, to assume that something must have gone wrong, and to offer to reschedule. And this is the approach that I do. I actually 275 episodes in on the Engaging Missions show, I've had a couple of missed interviews, more than a couple. And so I actually have a form letter that I send people if they miss it. And basically it goes something along the lines of, hey, I had it set up for such and such time on my calendar. I hope that I didn't mess something up and leave you hanging, because truthfully, between you and me, that's possible. It could have happened. And so I send them that note and say, hey, hope I didn't leave you hanging. I had us set up for this. If you'd like to reschedule, here's a link to do that rescheduling. And I just send that every time that I've got a guest that misses. However, my show with the Engaging Missions show has a little bit more flexibility in terms of scheduling. I don't have to get a particular guest in at a particular time in order to meet some kind of news cycle. And I generally have, right now I don't have any in the bank, but generally I have several episodes in the bank. And so it's not a huge deal if a guest misses. Now, if several miss in a row, okay. If somebody misses 3 or 4 times in a row, okay, I get that. Like, you're starting to see a pattern. But in general, I like to do that because I'd like to give them the option to reschedule, because I really wanted to showcase them. You may make a different choice, but that's what I do. On to the other couple of things that I have for you. One is a how-to video. And I'm not going to share the content of the video here, but there was a question in our Hindenburg Facebook group, the Hindenburg users group on Facebook. You can find that at hindyusers.com. That'll redirect you there. If you're not a member, then you can just click the join button, answer a few questions, and we'll take it from there. The question was, how do I remove the in and out markers if I want to make an edit in a different place? I answered that with a video. I'll have a link for you in the episode notes so that you can check that out. If you're not a Hindenburg user, might not be a lot of value there for you, but if you are, this could help you. And then also I mentioned that I've got some listener feedback. A few days ago, I asked about your plans for 2020, and Tom Haley, who you can find on Twitter at Tom Haley, he shared that he's going to be launching a new podcast in February of 2020. He said that the trailer is already up and you can check it out at bluegrassregionvoicesandviews.com. So I've got a link for that in the episode notes. It is still under construction, so proceed with caution, but he's got that there. He's got a trailer up there for you, so you can check that out. And then Tom will be in this show sharing about interesting places, people, and activities in the bluegrass region of Kentucky. If you live in the Southeast, this might be something really interesting to you, or if you just like to learn more about different places and different people, great show to check that out. You can find that again in the episode notes. Go ahead and check that out. Back to you. If you don't already have a plan for when, and I don't mean if, but when a guest misses their interview, there's no time like now to come up with something. If you like my ideas, you can take that and run with it for sure. You don't even have to give an attribution. Just go ahead and do that. If you already have a plan or if you're creating one, I'd love it if you would let me know. You can find me on @TopTierAudio on Twitter. If you'd like to connect or subscribe, you can do that at toptieraudio.com. That's also where you can set up a consultation, talk to me about editing your podcast or helping you start a podcast. If you want to connect with me personally, toptieraudio.com is the place for that. And if you'd like to leave me a question or a comment by voice, I do have a link in the episode notes so that you can do that. Just be aware that if you do that, there's a chance your question might become part of a future episode if that's okay with you. Thanks so much for listening. Now go out there and make a great podcast.